And so there's supplemental heating. I saw some electric radiators. Is that?
Yeah, well, they're actually gas, what it is, and again, it's sort of an old school approach. It's the way we used to our buildings. It's a gas-fired boiler in the basement, and it's called hydronic heating. And basically what we do is we have perimeter baseboard radiant heating system that keeps our space warm.
And the lighting, I noticed, is mostly fluorescent.
That's correct.
And they came on when we walked in the room, so there's motion sensors, or there a timer. What other technologies have you used for the lighting?
Well, again, typically at 7 o'clock, the entire building shuts off, so we have it timed to where we're not burning electricity, obviously when no one's here in the later hours. But some of the design strategies that we used here in the building, and again, what we want to do is optimize natural daylighting. So on the exterior of the building, we have two different systems that we've used. We've used on the east and west facades, we went with a fixed glazing system. We call them sunglasses. And basically what they do is during the summer months, they'll basically keep about 95% of the heat gain into the exterior glazing. And what that does is that really promotes natural daylighting into the space. And then the other design option that we actually ended up using is the exterior blinds that you see. Those come out of Germany. They're used a lot in Europe. And basically the way they work is we have a sensor that's up on the penthouse on the roof. And as the sun migrates through the sky in the day, they open and close based on the exposure onto that facade. Again, ways of mitigating heat gain into the space. So it's kind of a balancing act. On the one hand, our east and west facades, we let natural daylighting in all the time. On the courtyard facade, and also on the south facade of the courtyard, and also here at the northeast side, we went with the blinds. And again, if we had used blinds through the entire building, then it would be very dark when they were down, and then obviously we'd be using more lights. So again, it's a real balancing act on using these two systems on the exterior.
Was it the entire 6 years of the process? You said that the process began around 6 years ago. Was the design, did it evolve over that time, or was it shelved for a few years? How did that happen?
Well, what happened was we were caught right in the middle of the escalating costs of construction back in 2006, 2007. So in order to get this building constructed, there were some compromises that we had to do. So there's several series of value engineering phases where we actually had to look at how we can save money, get this to pro forma for the primary investors into the building. So that delayed us about a year. We finally were able to come up with a number that they could work with, either from the rent side or from the construction side, to be able to get this built.
So building green, as people say, is most people don't want to do it because there's the idea that it costs so much more. There's a big premium for it. But this is a very green building using only passively cooled, very minimal extra heat. What was the cost premium on this building?
Well, it cost us $10.2 million to construct this building, and in order to keep HVAC out of the building, which meant doing the exterior blinds, doing the exterior sunglasses, providing the operable windows, it cost us about $300,000 more than if we would have put an HVAC system in and not use those strategies. So as it turns out, from what we've been able to tell, the payback's about 3 years. And so we're going into our third year here now, just in terms of energy savings. So it'll be very interesting to see into next summer where we land, but I think we'll be pretty darn close.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
So that's roughly 30% savings each year, or 30% return on investment, almost.
Well, it's actually more of it's more of a 40 to 50% savings in terms of energy consumption. So, yeah, and the way it works out, again, a typical Class A office building, usually the operating expenses run about $15 a square foot. And what we're seeing in this building, at least our last reading, we're about $8 to $9 a square foot for operating expenses. So, You know, sustainable design, it's obvious, I mean, all of us, we need to do this, but there's a real economic value to thinking this way that I think a lot of people, in particular developers, don't quite understand. So if I'm, let's say, this is $31 square foot lease space. The building next door is $31 a square foot. If we can save $5 to $8 per square foot off the operating expenses, that goes directly into the user's pocket. This is considered a triple net lease, which means the user has to pay all of the operating expenses. There's a very real market incentive to do this type of building.